Good morning, Singapore. It's Glenn and the Flying Dutchman. Welcome to Therapy Tuesday. We have in the house Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
Good morning from Orchard Road.
Yay.
Oh, wait, let me see. That's Orchard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orchard's Gateway, Orchard 313 Somerset, right beside me.
Oh, nice.
Nice area, gotta say.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about... Okay, last week it was a huge hit. I have to tell you, Jerry, everyone actually got in touch with us and thanked us for having you on the show and talking about autism and calm, and so... there are many people who felt so much better, and I think some of them got in touch with you as well. And we thank you for going on our Facebook page and right after the show and replying to some of our 1FM fans as well. Now today we are going to be talking about attention deficit disorder and attention deficit hyper disorder. And apart from that, we're going to ask for people to be understanding,
more mindful. So mindfulness as well. Let's start it off, Jerry. What exactly is ADHD?
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Oh, there's a letter missing there. Earlier.
It's a one word.
ADHD.
No,
No.
ADHD. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Hyperactivity is
I see, one word. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
Yep. So ADHD, so ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder, is actually part of ADHD. So there are three components in ADHD. So the first type is the restless impulsive type. The type that Glenn will go, "Oi, you got ADHD."
For people
Stop
listening
running
on air.
around.
Terrible, that boy.
Those are more visible. You can see them running around, just on the go all the time, very impulsive. Then there's the second type, which is the inattentive sort. So the inattentive sort usually are called the ADD, because they are the dreamers, they drift away, they don't pay attention. So those are the inattentive type. And then the last category would be combination of both.
Okay.
So would people who have ADD then be extreme introverts?
No, they don't have
No.
to be introverted. It's more like, okay, when you do your work, you're in class. So they will be called the dreamers. They're drifting away in their own land, and then they'll be staring out the window, or they're just staring at the books, but they're not actually focusing or paying attention.
During my time, the term was stoner. So I had a
Yeah.
few friends in class. I used to call them stoners. So now I know they probably had ADD.
Actually, it was quite scary because she was describing the classroom and I was going, good Lord, that was me, man.
Yeah, same. Dreamer.
So bad.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of careless mistakes because they don't pay attention to details.
Ivan?
So, Dr. Jerry, what are the
Yes.
signs and symptoms that you could actually tell us a little bit more about?
Okay, I'm not going to go through the signs and symptoms very clinically. I'm going to pick out some traits. So, like what you did just now, right? The dreamers, and say, "Oh, it's like me." Okay, so some of them will be very talkative. You just talk and talk and talk and talk. Okay, or you're trying to have a conversation with them, and suddenly they just keep interrupting you. Very annoying, but maybe because they've got so many thoughts in their heads, they cannot control.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're talking to Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Today we're talking about ADD and ADHD. Please continue to watch us live on Facebook while we take a listen to Alanis Morissette right now. You ought to know on 1FM 91.3.
Okay.
Okay.
So, talkative is one thing. What else do we look out for?
Those that always forget their wallets, their pencil cases, their water bottles. So parents always tear their hair up because the child is perpetually losing the wallets, losing the water bottle, and they have to get a new one like almost every week.
Oh my God, I had ADD. That means, no, really, I used to lose my umbrellas all the time.
Umbrellas.
Why do you lose your umbrella?
No, because my mom will pass me an umbrella like on a day where it's drizzling or she thinks it's gonna rain, and I would never come home with the umbrella. Every single time, really, throughout my at least my school days, like from primary 3 all the way to secondary 4, right? She would like always pass me an umbrella, and I would lose it every single time.
The adults might lose not umbrellas, but maybe their handphones. They put it on the table and then they walk away and they forget where it is.
That's it. I got
You know?
ADD. lah.
No, you don't.
I'm always losing my handphone.
No, you're not. You've lost it a few times, Nila. Not
7.
all the time.
You know, there was. I think some of the adults are very worried about losing their IC, especially in Singapore. You get a hefty fine and so troublesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the IC is another one that people tend to lose also, not by choice.
I think if you lose your IC more than 3 times, I think you go to jail.
No, you just get very heavy fines.
Is it?
It's
It gets
heavy.
heavier and
It gets
heavier.
heavier.
Then
and
what if you
heavier.
lose it like 4 times, 5 times? I'm sure at some point they have to throw you in jail. No?
Probably, lah.
Probably, lah, but I don't think anybody has gone that far.
Do you think it's a
yet.
bit harsh? I don't know. I'm just
Whatever. Nation building.
Ivan?
I think they look at situations like whether you lost it, really lost it, or is it basically? I mean, so again, they look at it as situation, like case to case.
Yeah, because people could be selling their ICs, It's true. So I would say, I mean, if I were in charge, let's say, of ICs, of missing ICs, and maybe if I was a bit more powerful than just in charge of missing ICs, anyone who loses his or her IC more than 5 times will have to spend a week in jail.
I'm just. What kind of condition does Glenn have? So restless, talkative, forgetful. What else are we looking for?
Well, whatever Glenn rolled out just now would not work for the ADHD person.
Yeah.
Because the consequence, they don't think of the consequence. So that's another aspect, when we see these children. When you talk to them, they hear you, they understand you, but they on the spot they cannot see the consequence. So the restless impulsive, when it's more severe, we actually get quite worried because they dash across the road. So there are things that-
Oh, right.
yeah. So parents have to keep a tight, grip on them. Yep. So because they know they have to look left, they have to look right, but when they are just on that goal, they don't think about it.
Okay,
But
that's
they can tell you about the consequence. Yep. So that's why, Glenn, your consequence might not work.
that's why I'm just saying this live on Facebook. When I go back on air later, I'll ask you something else. I won't bring the whole, IC thing up.
But I'll tell you what's really.
Stand by.
We go back on air.
Okay.
FM 91.3, we are talking to Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room, and today we're talking about ADD and ADHD. Now, Jerry, what should parents be careful and mindful about if their kids have ADHD?
I think the first thing is not to scold them. It's not purposeful. Whatever that they're doing, the behaviors, right? They don't do it deliberately to irritate parents, which is something the teachers and the parents tend to feel quite personal about. It's like, why do you always keep doing it on my watch? Or why do you keep doing it to me? But they have no control. They haven't learned how to manage their behaviors. They don't have filters. So we need to help them, teach them to put in those filters. So things like calling them naughty, lazy, please don't label them.
Right. Jerry, do kids and adults with ADHD put themselves in danger more than someone who doesn't suffer from those conditions?
Some of them do have a bit more risk-taking behaviors, because their brain needs stimulation. So they need to seek that thrill or they need to seek that excitement. But it can be easily obtained from elsewhere. But if not managed properly, they tend to take more dangerous sort of risk-taking behaviors.
It's very interesting. We have a fan on our Facebook page who's come across Friday. Goes by the name of Friday. Me and my son have ADHD.
Okay.
Yep.
Father and son. Is it hereditary? Is it?
It can be, definitely. So we do see that in parent-child. We do see that in siblings also. So sometimes when we diagnose one of the siblings, we do have the parent bringing the other siblings to us and say, "Oh, I think I see the same symptoms also."
Wow.
Ivan?
Yeah, Dr. Jerry, I know medication. A couple of medication that I've seen, Ritalin, Adderall for kids. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit more on how they can actually help you?
Okay, so again, because as a psychologist, I don't deal with the medication, but
Yep.
I do work with the psychiatrists that, prescribe the medication. So we do know about, the different sort of medication. The parents are usually very worried taking the medication, and as psychologists we work with the parents and try to manage behaviors, okay, but there are times when it is just not possible. When they are throwing things around, when the anger gets too much, when they are a bit too impulsive, then we would recommend for the parents to please try and listen to the doctor. Go to the psychiatrist, sit with them, ask them all the side effects and, any worries that they have.
Right. Today we are talking about ADD and ADHD with Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Up next, Kylie Minogue. This is Spinning Around.
So, Jerry, with this medication that can be prescribed, I have a question. So, Friday says Friday and son both have ADHD.
Yep.
Are you born? Well, I know some people are born with ADHD. Can it develop later in life?
If it's mild, it might go undiagnosed. So a lot of people with ADD, especially ADD, because it's not visible, they get by school, they conduct themselves really well. It might come out in the later stages. So we've got many adults who become very frustrated, later on, although they are in very positions of power. But they find it very difficult to anchor themselves and complete tasks or focus on details. So one of the big complaints that I've got, or one of the complaints that I've got, is when they receive long emails. People love to send long emails like essay type. They can't sit at the computer to screen through everything.
Yeah.
And well, Jerry, how do I do this? Because, I have to vet all these. What do I do then? So what we've done with some of them, because it is possible, is we got the team to send just pointers so they can read in point form, which is succinct, and it's more concise for them. So their eyes and and the brain can receive the information much better than a huge chunk of information.
Yeah, but long emails kind of irritate everyone.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
And most people. So how do you know if someone is suffering from, as you mentioned, right? Some of these people either with. Are you talking about the ADD people with ADD who can't focus on long emails, or is it ADHD?
It can be a combination,
okay,
right? But the ADD would find it very difficult to focus on specific details. They make a lot of careless mistakes. Yeah,
I see. Ivan?
Sorry, Ivan, go ahead.
Oh, no, I wanted to, I just asked Dr. Jerry, with all your therapy that you've done, maybe you want to give us some case study. And second question, is there any exercise they can also do?
Good question.
Well,
Can we answer this question on air?
Okay, let's do
hold on.
that.
Kylie Minogue spinning around, and I'm so looking forward to her brand new album called Disco.
Great stuff.
That's, I think, coming out in November.
6th of November.
6th of November. Are you a Kylie fan, Jerry? Because you look like a Kylie fan.
I love all the different genres. Most.
Okay. Jerry,
Yes.
Ivan was asking whether exercise helps. I just want to say, Ivan, before Jerry goes into that, Friday is very active on our comments section. Friday is saying that Friday and Friday's son actually got better with exercise. So, how does that work?
Well, exercising is very good for any sort of mental health.
Okay.
And John will attest to that, right? Yeah. And exercising helps to keep us stimulated, keep different parts of the brain stimulated, which the ADHD person actually requires, because they need that balance. They need to be kept excited about something. So exercising does help a lot with them. Problem is sometimes we cannot get them to exercise.
Right.
That's the difficulty. But you will see many of these with the hyperactive component. We encourage them to take up many different types of sports. Yeah.
I think if someone has ADHD, I think Muay Thai will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would. It probably would be. Yeah, anything like that.
Martial arts, Muay Thai, gym, they do different sort of gym, mixed martial arts. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Ivan?
Yeah, so talking about exercise, I think if you want to keep it really simple, at the playground, you can just do spinning round the spinning wheel, or you can actually do monkey bars, or swimming. I think swimming is one good exercise you can do. I mean, I've seen a lot of people and some friends with ADHD, they say swimming helps them.
So we want to do it a little bit more mindfully. So I'm going to slip in this part here. So if they're just running around aimlessly, you don't give them a goal to look forward to. That's why a structured sport actually helps them. And they enjoy that because they will be able to achieve. Remember that sometimes they feel like a failure in school or in society. So these sports offer that structure, and they start to learn the structure. It gives them a goal, which is wonderful. We want them to work towards an attainable goal. Yeah, so that's why when they achieve it, they feel more motivated to continue, and it has that spillover effect.
Right. Maybe they should be marathon runners.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah.
But this would be for ADHD. How do we deal with ADD? Because you think about this, doesn't that mean they have to continuously vary what is in their life to keep them going?
Well, like for some of the students, right? How do we study? Some of us study like 3 hours flat on one subject only, and they get very bored with it. So what we like to do is we like to rotate the subjects for them. And some of the parents go, "Oh my God, how can you do that?" But it's how their brains work, and they enjoy it a little bit more. So they could be doing a 45-minute on one subject, and they switch over to another subject, okay, giving them a 15-minute break, switch over, and then another 45 minutes, 15-minute break, switch over. So then they are kept engaged more.
All right.
Yeah.
So the secret is diversity then?
Yes, they actually love doing that. And adults tend to have this complaint, "Oh, I start a lot of things, but I don't complete it." The trick is just to rotate back again.
Right. You tuned into 1FM 91.3. We are also live on our Facebook page. The time is 8:22.
1FM time check.
And we're back.
All right.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, again, Friday has come back and said that they are both not on medication, but they exercise. And as we said, they got better. And Friday is saying that my son is actually very good at math.
Okay.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
it's obviously working.
Yep. Many of these people with ADHD are super intelligent. And those adults ADHD tend to be the CEOs. They tend to be in position of power. Yeah, so they can accomplish a lot.
Let's say if you get two people with ADHD and they are like best of friends, will they give each other a headache? That's my
They
question.
might enjoy each other's company and enjoy doing silly things together.
Okay, but if you have
nice.
someone with ADHD and someone with ADD, then the guy with ADD or the girl with ADD might not necessarily get along, right? Because it's like the opposite, right? I mean, it's
No one's
possible,
ever
but
done that research before.
We're now beginning to get a lot of messages from people who have members of the family with either ADHD or ADD. Yaki Kaha says that they are really, really concerned, loving, and protective of their loved ones. Is that true?
who? Which one? The ADD or ADHD?
The ADHD and ADD people tend to be very
Yes.
concerned and protective of their loved ones.
They tend to be very not tend to, they are very compassionate, just that sometimes we look upon them as aliens, right? And we think of them like really, really strange people, but they're not. They're just like you and I, and they're very sweet. They're very loyal. I've got many of the ADHD boys who are really loyal and very compassionate. They can get angry with the whole world. The next moment they flip and say, "Auntie Jerry, have you eaten?" And then go like, "Oh, so sweet." Yeah.
Ivan?
Yeah, so Dr. Jerry, maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about the therapy room. What do you, when you see patients, right, with ADHD or ADD, what do you typically do with them at the therapy room?
Right. So when parents or the adults come in, we typically have a consultation, and then we observe the behavior. So where Glenn has seen many of the kids running around, we do see. I've got my room turned upside down many times before, but parents tend to get very flustered. And I'll always tell parents, it's okay, let me observe. We will just pick everything back later on. For the children or even the adults, we do testing. So the continuous performance tests on the computer itself. So that's how we see how severe the condition is, whether it is impulsive type, whether it is inattentive type. So there's data to show us. And then we always mark it against their IQ. So and not because their IQ might be high or low, but sometimes it affects their ability to do certain things. So it limits them.
How accurate are these tests, Jerry?
Well, it is normed. A lot of parents, most parents agree with the data, but some of the parents contest it, saying that, the circumstances are not right and things like that. It could be, but it's just a snapshot at that point in time. So any test that we do is a snapshot of the person's performance on that day.
Right.
So definitely it would be affected if you're not feeling well or you're hungry and things like that. Yeah.
All right. We are talking to Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room. Just hold on. We're going back on air. We are live on Facebook right now. My favorite One Directioner, Harry Stylo. Harry Styles with Sign of the Times right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. It's Glenn the Flying Dutchman, Ivan Ranson, executive producer Sean Tupas. I'm getting used to his new title.
Yes.
He's been promoted, everybody, to executive
you.
producer.
That's why they're paying me now.
Much deserved. Yes. So FD is paying him $50 once in a while. And, I haven't given him $50 yet.
Not yet.
At the end of the week. Next time you need to rate him as well as a comic. Okay, Jerry? So we pay him for his stand-up comedy. So if everyone gives him like a 10 upon 10, then he gets $10 from FD. if everyone gives him, like, for example, my number, it could be a 6 or 7, and if that morning if the average is my number, then I have to pay him. Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Glenn obviously takes the lower number because he usually gets higher numbers.
It's hard for me to give anyone a 10 upon 10.
Yeah.
So I always feel there's room for improvement, you see.
Okay, Jerry, we've got a couple of questions coming through. One from Felicia, who is asking, can you tell us what causes ADHD or ADD? What's the cause? Is it chemical imbalance? What is it?
Yeah, so there's a deficit in chemical in the brain. Yeah, so that's why they need, external stimulation. So that's why they would do a lot of behaviors to excite themselves.
I think strict parents, they cause ADD and ADHD.
No.
What do you think? Because, like, okay, for example, I give you an example. Okay, if I'm a strict parent, right, and I have a kid with me, right, and the kid is like, wanting to run around, I'm like, keep still. So this kid always keeps still, and after a period of time, he becomes a little bit more reserved. You know what I mean? ADD.
I think.
And then if, let's say, I have a kid and I want my kid to express himself or herself, and I go like, okay, go, just do whatever you want. And this person is jumping and climbing everywhere and, running about. ADHD.
No, I think there's a difference between ADHD and just a hyperactive child. It's very different. But Jerry, another thing that's coming across, and this is confusing me, I don't know whether it's a typo or whether this is a condition. We're talking about ADHD and ADD, but it keeps coming up on our message board as ASD.
So ADHD is what we spoke about last week. Autistic spectrum disorder. Yeah, so that's why, we encourage people to say ADHD. Just that, the ADHD sometimes is quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
And people would think, ADD is a lesser version of ADHD.
Right.
ADD is just a subset of ADHD. Yeah, so, ASD is completely
different. That's last week's autism topic, right?
No, and it's also Action for Singapore Dogs, ASD. It's true. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
We believe you, Glenn. We believe you. Dr. Jerry, can I ask you a question? Since we're talking about ADHD and also the mindfulness to it, maybe you'd like to elaborate a little bit more on mindfulness?
Okay, so the especially for those that have the inattentive part, right? They miss out a lot of details. So one of the things that we often tell them is to slow down, which is very in line with the mindfulness. Slowing down, paying attention to every step of the way, breaking things down. Okay, so following that process, because they love to skip processes. Many of the ADHD children that tell me, I don't need to write workings. I just write down the answer, because they process it so fast. They just write down the answer, but they might have careless mistakes. So what we want them to do is to really slow down, pace themselves, put it all down, part by part.
All right. We are talking about ADHD and ADD today. We have our doctor in the house, Dr. Geraldine Tan. We'll continue to talk about this live on Facebook while we take a listen to this great track right now. This is Falco, Rock Me Amadeus on 1FM 91.3. Rock me, Amadeus. Amadeus. Ivan.
Yeah, Dr. Jerry, you were mentioning about, putting everything down in sequence, right? I don't know whether Glenn, FB, and Sean knows that in school today, if you are diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, the school actually gives you extra time when you're taking your exams.
Oh,
you know that, right?
Oh, wow. No, I didn't.
Yep, so that's called access arrangement, and that's why parents, please, if you think your child needs the extra time, needs certain arrangement during examination to showcase their potential, please bring them for a consultation. Wow. So we do it at my center also. That's why we do all the testing for you. So MOE will require all the data to be present and the diagnosis there, so that they can process your access arrangements during the school examinations and during national examinations.
Right.
Wow, that's very good.
Okay,
That's
so
actually
parents,
very
you
good.
see, if your kids are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, and you are disputing it and all that, you don't accept it, just accept it, because see, there's an advantage there. Your kid will have extra time
Glad,
in school.
Glad.
Just simple testing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, make the best out of everything. Right? I always say, make the best out of everything.
Okay.
I have to work with this man.
Cannot cheat, okay? So parents out there, genuinely, if your child has an issue, we will test you. But we've turned away many parents
Right.
who just want to have that, access arrangement, and we don't do that, because if parents start abusing it,
Yeah.
clamp down.
Right.
And those that actually require the accesses don't get the accesses. Sorry,
wait,
a little bit passionate there.
No worries. No, I'm not asking people to go down and try and get it. No, I'm talking about the parents who have received the results and their kids are, ADD, have ADD and ADHD, and they still dispute it. They want to argue about it. I'm saying there is a good side. And that is
So there is
an
help.
advantage to it,
There
so
is help
don't
for your child.
just accept it. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of parents who kind of reject the diagnosis?
There are a fair number of parents who get who are really shocked by the results, and it's hard to accept that your child has an issue. And after the diagnosis, it's not just that report that you get, it's what you do after that, the management of it, and it is not a short period of time. It is a very prolonged period of time. So parents, they find it really hard to deal with it at that point when they are given the results.
Yati has said that her son was given extra time during this year's PSLE. So she obviously has all the documentation, and he is in normal circular school.
What? What is a
Normal.
normal circular school?
It's okay, right?
You're talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
wait,
no.
is this secondary school? No, you said
No,
primary,
PSLE.
right?
PSLE.
What is a normal secular
Circular
school? I've never heard of that. Especially primary school.
Mainstream school.
Okay.
So it maybe, I'm not sure what it is. It could be the mainstream school. She might mean secular school.
Yeah, I think it could be secular and not
Not circular. So
Yeah.
Okay.
The mainstream schools,
Anna Hariano says, what if I suspect my 18-year-old has ADHD? Is it too late? I've said, you mentioned earlier that it's never too late, right?
Never.
No, adults can come for it. So maybe Glenn can wriggle his way in.
I should get tested.
Oh my god, I want to film
I'm
that.
not saying anything.
Ivan.
Yeah, no, I wanted to tell Dr. Jerry that ADHD, or actually to all listeners and everyone on Facebook Live, that ADHD is a chronic condition of the brain. So don't label them, because some of them are kids, some are adults. So sometimes you see it through. So yeah.
Jerry, how would you handle someone who came to you, say, who's 18 and 20 years old, and to be diagnosed, whether or not they have ADHD? Surely it's different from the way you would try and diagnose a 5-year-old, right?
Well, the 18 or 20-year-old who have definitely more insight, have Googled far more extensively than the little ones. They know the signs and symptoms, so which means that they know what they can achieve. And we always focus on the strength, because many of these people with ADHD, can accomplish so much. They have so much potential within themselves, and they don't recognize it. So we are there to alert them to all the potentials that they have discounted. The ADHD has pushed them to do a lot of different things. And that is really exciting when they start to list out. It's like, oh, actually I did this. Oh, actually I did that.
Wow.
And they don't see it. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, some people have tattoos, ADCC. I just want to say that it's got nothing to do with ADHD or ADC, because the ADCC is actually the Abu Dhabi Combat Club, which is a submission grappling competition that is internationally recognized.
Oh.
Yes. So some people, after taking part in the ADCC competition, right, will go and tattoo ADCC on their arm or their bodies or whatever. Doesn't mean that they have attention deficit something. It's actually Abu Dhabi Combat Club. I just want to say that.
Actually, as we're talking, I've just done a search of the internet, and there are many famous people with ADHD. Michael Phelps, ADHD.
That's why he's so fast.
Wait, Adam Levine, ADHD.
Oh,
Justin Timberlake,
So many
ADHD.
Justin.
Paris Hilton, ADHD.
Can tell.
Paris Hilton. Actually, Paris Hilton more ADD, I think.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. So
She
when
doesn't
your
move so
child,
fast.
what I'm trying to say here is, if your child has been diagnosed, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jerry, with ADHD or ADD, don't stifle them. Give them that chance to bloom, because they can.
Yep, definitely. A lot of scientists have ADHD. That's why they can accomplish what they have accomplished. You have Will Smith, Jim Carrey, my favorite,
Carrey.
Agatha Christie. Yeah, they are all diagnosed with ADHD.
Absolutely incredible. So
Please include me in there. I think I have ADHD as well.
Up there
I
with
think-
Jim Carrey and Michael Phelps.
You can include me in the list. I have very strong feeling I have ADHD.
You just want to be in the list with all those famous people. That's all.
Okay, we go back on it, then we can talk about mindfulness.
Stand by. With style right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. We are talking about ADD and ADHD this morning. And, FD was just telling us about some very, very famous people who have been diagnosed with ADHD. People like Justin Timberlake, Adam Levine,
The swimmer Michael Phelps,
Jim Carrey.
Paris Hilton, people like that. They have ADHD.
So I just want to say, if you have ADHD, it's all right. Be proud of it.
It's not. No, I think it's what Glenn is saying is important.
Yeah.
It's not a hindrance. It's merely a condition that, with the right help and with the right medication, you can overcome.
Of course.
Yep.
I think that's important. That's a very important message to get out there. Rather than, oh, you have ADHD. So what?
Yeah. Ivan?
No, I wanted to say that the one person that we all forget also is the Apple man, Steve Jobs. He has ADHD as well.
Is that
right?
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, actually, we did watch the movie, right? And he was rather explosive, and he had mood swings and all that. Is that part of having ADHD, Jerry?
Well, some of them do have that, the anger. So
Yeah.
we see some of them very angry. The mood swings can be part of it, but they tend to also lie, some of them.
Right, which he did a lot of, actually. I think Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I actually found this on the internet also. What Jim Carrey, he said, my report card always said, Jim finishes first and then he disrupts the other students. And I love that because, I think many of us can identify with that, So the ADHD student often gets scolded for finishing very, very fast because they are so impulsive and so fast, right? And, especially if they are, average or higher in intelligence, they complete things very fast. But then they get so bored, they have to walk around the class, they have to go and disturb everyone, and they get scolded for that.
Just straying away from the topic a little bit this morning, Jerry. A lot of people are saying they love your top this morning. They all love your blouse. I just we've got like 7 people.
What to do with anything?
But it's very... I actually noticed that
You
the
did,
moment
right?
you
Yeah.
came on, actually.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Oh, thank you. It's okay. It's
See, now Jerry is very conscious now.
I am. Like, okay.
Okay, Jerry, another one. Mal has come across and said, I wanted to get my daughter tested,
Yep.
but the test costs were prohibitive. Admittedly, this was years ago. Is it less costly now? We'll come back and answer that question.
All right, in the meantime, here's Mariah Carey, Can't Let Go on 1FM 91.3.
So, the question, as I said, was, this is from Mal. I wanted to get my daughter tested, but the cost was prohibitive, and this was years ago. Is it any less costly now?
Okay. So the KK hospital, the if you get a referral from the CGC
Yeah.
Child Guidance Clinic, it definitely is much cheaper and it's subsidized. If you're flagged by the school, the local schools, they have the MOE psychologist to do it for you. So that one is completely free. From what I understand, if you want to go private, that's where the cost is. So it depends on the centers. It can range anything from 800 to thousands.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on the number of tests that they are conducting.
Just question. A lot of people are used to doing this to save money. Okay, I'm going to take my child to the polyclinic, and then they can refer. Is that possible as well?
Refer to the private centers? No. So
No.
private centers, you still pay the private rate.
Right, but if I went to a polyclinic, they would probably recommend me to a psychologist at somewhere like SGH or something like that, right?
Yeah, CGC or
Yeah.
KK, yes,
Yeah.
they would. So
Okay.
the cost would be kept down.
All right. Okay. Good. That's just something that Mal. Now you know. You may want to look at that avenue more.
Right. Keep those comments coming in. If you've got questions for Dr. Jerry, I think she's got time to take like maybe one or two more questions.
Yeah.
And then in just a while, Jerry, maybe some words for parents who have just maybe found out that their kids have ADD or ADHD. Yeah. Any more questions for Jerry? Because some people here are saying yes, Glenn definitely is displaying ADHD.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you very
they
much,
are.
everybody. Thank you.
They're asking you to tattoo ACDC also.
Ken, that'll be nice.
Glenn, you're right up there with Justin Timberlake now.
Hey, Ivan.
Yeah, Dr. Jerry, I've read somewhere, of course, the unproven ADHD treatments, be it mega vitamins or minerals, or even some say your sugar consumption. Is there any truth?
So it depends on what you believe in. A lot of people adjust their diets. They decrease the sugar level. They take away all the artificial kind of chemicals in their foods. They take away gluten. So there are many therapies out there, and I'll leave it to all these professionals or other professionals to deal with it. Do what is necessary for your child. Every parent wants to do the best for their children. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, going back on. Can't Let Go right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. We have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room with us, and she's with us every Tuesday for Therapy Tuesdays. And today we've been talking about ADD and ADHD. Jerry, almost time to let you go. But before that, perhaps do you have like words or advice for parents who have just found out that their kids have ADD or ADHD?
So these ADHD children can be dreamers. They dream big. And I would encourage parents not to stifle their dream. So Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. So I'm giving that to the parents and everyone.
All right.
Awesome, Jerry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jerry, for joining us. Ivan,
No
you've got
worries.
one last question, is it?
Yeah, I just want to say bless you, Dr. Geraldine, and all the people out there for dedicating and helping those in need. I think we all say that you are a warrior. So, amen.
Well done.
Amen.
Good job, Jerry.
And I would love to say thank you to all of you also, all of you for taking on all these difficult topics. I think it's not easy, but all of you are so awesome.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thanks
Jerry.
very much. You have a wonderful day ahead, and we look
You
forward to
too.
seeing you again next week.
Next week then. Okay.
Thank
see
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.